2 weeks before my exam, I got a borderline score. And it's not fun, guys. It made me doubt myself so much. I began overthinking. I was kind of beating myself up as well because for the past 3 weeks, I've been studying every day. And it felt like, like my efforts are not enough. I'm not doing anything. I'm not learning enough, or I'm not learning everything that I needed to. So I began doubting myself so much. And there's a point where I even contemplated to reschedule my exam, to postpone it because I wasn't really confident at all. But looking back at it now, I've realized that I'm really grateful that I pushed through, that I was able to learn these mindset. And if you're someone like me who had a borderline score as well, or who is not confident with their scores, I hope this video would really help you. Here's what I realized, guys. Number one, the question banks are generally harder than the actual NCLEX. Personally, I find the NCLEX, the actual NCLEX, much easier and more straightforward. At one point during the exam, I was actually asking myself like, what's the catch here? Why is everything so obvious? Like that. I started questioning the question, which is weird though. The questions and the answer, guys, they were literally obvious. Like, you can tell that this is a wrong choice and this is the right one. Of course, there are still unfamiliar questions that I still didn't know, that I still struggle with. For example, all the pharmacology questions. Oh my God. I even tried to remember the drugs that I encountered, guys, but I don't know. I forgot about them. That's how brutal the pharmacology questions were. And it's okay. And so this is just a reminder for you guys to stop beating yourself up if your scores are below. Actually, your Qbank scores, they don't really matter that much in the actual NCLEX. What's more important is you understand the question. You know specifically what is being asked in the problem. You know the prioritization skills like ABCs and the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the need for safety, which is the very essence of NCLEX. You can absolutely ace it. Your scores don't really matter, guys, because in the actual NCLEX, it's much easier. Number two, you have to remember that your borderline scores, they actually repeat in the actual NCLEX. What do I mean by this? So, most of my borderline scores were from OB and pediatric related questions. Yes, guys. And it's weird because OB and pediatrics is something that I really like. It's my favorite subject in nursing school. Like, maternal and child, the complexity of pregnancy and the power of the motherhood. I love those things. But yeah, it's something that I struggled with during the review. And surprisingly, in the actual NCLEX, I still struggled with it somehow because I kept having the same OB related and pediatric questions. That is why I'm really glad and I'm really lucky that during my time during the review, I know that I struggle with OB and pediatrics because that is something that I had experienced, I experienced having borderline score, and I'm glad I doubled down on it. I doubled down on studying OB. I read through key topics. I prioritized the rationale videos in OB. And I finally realized I know the topics. I know the principles in OB. But I usually fail at understanding the question. Sometimes I misunderstood the question or overthink. Like for example, the word initial. Like initially, what is the first thing to do? Or the question always says, okay, this happens, this happens. What is the initial thing to do? And sometimes I would jump over interventions. What is the first thing to do when the mother experiences contraction? And initially, you need to assess, right? Remember ADP, the nursing process: assessment, diagnosis, planning, intervention, and evaluation. Sometimes I would jump in intervention without assessing, So initially, the first thing to do is to assess. So during my review, I realized that I made mistakes because I don't understand the premise of the question. So I'm really glad I discovered that and learned to overcome that. Because in the actual NCLEX, guys, I encountered the same things and I'm glad I know, So be grateful for your borderline scores. They tell you what you need to focus on. Number three, guys, focus on principles, not just facts. I believe it was Mark Lemick when he said that the answer depends on the question. What he means by this is we need to stop memorizing answers. I had this habit before, like I would memorize questions and would memorize keywords from the question. And then when I see that keyword, then I know that this is the answer that needs to be chosen. And it's not really effective, guys. Sometimes the answer depends on the question itself. And so memorizing an answer is not actually effective. You need to focus on nursing principles because it really worked for me. What are the nursing principles? Number one, safety. I know you heard this a lot, but it's one of the most important parts of the NCLEX, guys. The safety principles. This is why the NCLEX exists. They wanted us to be safe nurses. They need to assess if we are a safe nurse. That's why when I was taking my exam, I always kept asking that question in my head. What does the safe nurse do in this situation? I always do that, I always ask myself, what is the safe nurse needs to do? Does a safe nurse do this thing? Does that, And instantly, I can find the answer that pops up, The answer that I feel is right always pops up in the choices. And so that kind of mindset really helped me. Another principle, guys, is the ADP. That's what I talked about earlier. The importance of assessment, diagnosis, planning, intervention, and evaluation. The importance of the nursing process. What is the first thing to do? We need to assess. And sometimes assessment has a lot of keywords. For example, check, notice, auscultate, observe. Those are keywords that you need to check, which means assessment, right? But also remember that if it's an emergency, we need to treat immediately. Like for example, in the case of bleeding, seizures, choking. So the ADP doesn't work that way, because safety again, safety principle. Focusing on principles, guys, made me a better test taker because I don't stress about facts anymore, or I don't stress about answers. Yes, we need answers, and sometimes memorizing can help. But the NCLEX, guys, is more situational, and it's more critical thinking, and it's more actually like, what can you do based on the situation? And you don't need facts about it. Sometimes you just need a simple understanding, and nursing principles really worked. And finally, guys, number 4, my weakness is not yours. As I mentioned in my previous video, the NCLEX is an adaptive test, which means it caters based on your weaknesses and on your performance. I am weak with OB and pediatrics in the actual NCLEX, but maybe you're stronger than that. Maybe you're weaker in pharma or in medical surgical or in fundamentals, And the only way for you to discover that, guys, is by continually making mistakes in the review. I am so grateful that I'm able to push through, fix my mindset about my mistakes, see them as opportunities to improve because it really helped me grow. It really helped me ease my anxiety. It also gave me a lot of information on what to study and what to improve on. And so making mistakes in your review, guys, is actually really helpful. It gives you an idea on what to focus on so that in the actual NCLEX, you're not going to panic, you're not going to be startled, you're not going to be surprised because you already know that and you have everything in your bag. You are prepared. You are ready to counter them. To end this video, guys, I just want to remind you that having a borderline score during review, especially 2 weeks before, is not an issue. But how you deal with it, that's the issue. And at the end of the day, it is always your decision, okay? That matters. What works for me may not work for you. And if you feel like you really need to postpone your NCLEX or reschedule it, then you must do it, okay? Because at the end of the day, your decision is what truly matters. I hope you learned something new today, nurses, and I hope you consider these 4 things for you to pass your NCLEX. God bless you, and I'm rooting for you. You are going to pass this year. See you on my next videos.